In this video, we're going to talk about word families. In Russian, word parts can be very useful in telling you some information about the meaning of the word. If you see a word that looks like it has part of a word that you know in it, there's a good chance that they are related and have a similar meaning. Look at the first three words in this list, for example. You might notice the root there, holod, that you've seen before as holodna, cold. The ending on it, nik or ik, often shows that it's a thing. So, холодильник is a cold thing, a refrigerator. Similarly here, we have чайник. You can see its ending is the same as холодильник. And then the front part you can see as chai. So, tea thing, a tea kettle. If you look at the next phrase, you can see a root that you know, pis, from pisать. If you look at the ending on the word, you can tell that it's an adjective. And combined with stol, you can see that it's like writing table or desk. Some words, as the next word, has a combination of roots. So we see mikro, like small, voln, which means wave. So microwave, and then the end, ka, sometimes means a thing. So microwave thing, the microwave oven. You might not have seen those roots before, but in identifying them, it might help you remember. The next word is also a combination of two roots. We have pil, which is dust, and then sos, which is related to the verb sosat, means to suck. So it's dust sucker, or a vacuum cleaner. And the last phrase, стиральная машина. The verb стирать means to wash. Then if you look at the ending of it, you can tell it's an adjective. Стиральная машина, so washing machine. Let's look again at our root холод. And if you look at the word холод, it means cold. It's a word in itself, but it's also a root. Look in these words where you see the root there. Холодно, холодный, похолодать, прохладно. Notice that in this last one, the chlad is slightly different in its vowels and combination of consonants, but it's still related to холод. So sometimes the root can slightly change. You also notice that a couple of these words have prefixes po and pro on the front. So you can't necessarily depend on the fact that the word will begin with the root. It might be in the middle of the word, but you can still find it in the middle of the word. As we go, we'll learn more about the meanings of prefixes and what they tell us about the words that they are in. The suffixes, or the ends of the words, also tell us something about the meaning. If we look at this first word here, холодно, the no, when the word ends in o, sometimes, not always, but sometimes shows that it's an adverb. And here that's the case. When we look at холодный, we can tell by the ending that this is an adjective. So it's something describing a noun. If we look at похолодать, the at ending shows that this is probably a verb. And can you tell what kind of word прохладно is? It's also an adverb, like холодно. Can you guess which of these sentences would go with which of these words? Of course, холодно describes when someone feels cold. Холодный describes when something is cold. And похолодать describes the process of getting cold. Now let's look at the root pis, to write. Find the root in each of these words. Писать, письменный стол, письмо, подписаться, подпись, записать, записка. Of course, you can see the prefixes in some of these words. And now look at the suffixes. Can you figure out what part of speech these words are? Our verbs are pisать, you can see by its ending there, подписаться, записать. You can see the verb endings on those. This one here is a reflexive with ся, but it's just like any other verb. Then we have adjective, письменный, that one's easy to see. Here, письмо, although you might think it's an adverb, it's actually a noun. Подпись is also a noun, and записка is more obvious as a noun. Can you figure out which word would go with each sentence? Can you figure out the meanings of these words? We have письмо as a letter. Подписаться means to write your name down, to sign something. And then подпись, related, is a signature. Записать is to jot something down. And then записка is what you jotted down, some notes that you took. You can see how these are related to each other, and as you put the parts together, you can relate the different words to each other and their meanings. Now, think of these verbs that you know along the left-hand side of this page. Then see if you can match the words on the right to their related words. You can see our word думать that has related words обдумать, задумчивый. Говорить, договор, уговаривать. The vowels in уговаривать slightly changed, but you can still see the relationship. Видеть, свидетель, видно. Купить, покупка, покупатель. Спрашивать is a little tricky because we have прош that then changes to просить, просить, спрос. Пить, напитка, напиться. Помнить, воспоминание, вспомнить. And слышать is also a little tricky because while we have слышно, which is easy to see, вслух is slightly more difficult to see. Now, can you figure out what part of speech each of these words are? Verbs are pretty easy to identify. You see them ending in the тем'який знак, and they're highlighted here in green. Обдумать, уговаривать, просить, напиться, вспомнить. Adjectives are also pretty easy to identify. Here we have задумчивый. This is our only adjective here. Adverbs, many times are easy to identify. These two here, видно and слышно, are pretty easy to see. Вслух is a little bit more difficult. This is also an adverb, even though it doesn't have the ending o. And then nouns are a little bit more varied. Here we have them in purple. Some of them are easier to identify than others. Nouns will often end in ka, like these. If something ends in nye, it's likely to be a noun. Also, you probably remember some nouns that end in til, like родители, учитель, преподаватель. And can you identify what it means? In most cases, til means a person. And then we have a few that are not quite as easy to identify, but you can make a good guess in looking at their endings that they're nouns, договор and sпрос. Now see if you can identify their meanings. In most cases, when you know the part of speech, you can figure out the difference between the two. Обдумать, to consider, and you can see how that's related to thinking. And the prefix об means around, so it's like to think around. Задумчивый, since it's an adjective, means thoughtful. Договор versus уговаривать. Договор, an agreement, whereas уговаривать means to convince someone. Свидетель, a person, right? So a witness, it's a person who saw something. Whereas видно is an adverb, something that's visibly something. Again, покупатель is a person. So til, покупатель, is a buyer, whereas покупка is the thing that was bought. Просить, to ask, verb, versus sпрос, like demand. Напиться, the verb to drink too much, and напитка, what do you drink? A drink. Вспомнить, to remember something, and воспоминание, remembrance. The last one might be the one that was the trickiest because they're both adverbs. Слышно is something that's audibly, and вслух is out loud. Word roots in Russian are really, really useful. But here's a meme that shows that they're not always perfect. It says, еще один кошмар иностранца. Another nightmare of a foreigner. These words all have the roots of morning, утро, день, day, вечер, evening, and ночь, night, with the ending of ник, yeah? But this meme shows that they all have slightly different meanings. So утренник, мероприятие. Утренник is an event. It's like a matinee. Дневник, книжка или книга. Дневник is a book. It's like a diary. Вечерник, студент. This is a night student. Whereas ночник, лампа. Ночник is a lamp. So these word parts are not always perfect in identifying meaning, but they are very, very useful, and we will be paying a lot more attention to them as we go.